Is it just me, or is the original opening theme for Ghost in the Shell, you know, In a Universe by Ariga and Yoko Kanno, still the definitive Ghost in the Shell theme? Honestly, every time I think of anything to do with Ghost in the Shell, I think of that theme, because it's as epic as it gets. I really hope the live-action movie uses that theme prominently. Don't get me wrong though, I love the music in Arise. It's so surreal and calming despite the series being very intense, and the music gives the series some very suitable beauty. The opening sequence to alternative architecture is by far the best anime opening credit sequence I've seen in a while. It's like a futuristic James Bond style opening, and it gives me a strong sense of what it's like to be inside a computer with all its crazy and surreal imagery. This episode is about the investigation of a horrific terrorist attack, and the Section 9 team become quote-unquote fire doors as they attempt to lure the Firestarter hacker in using a kernel as bait. The operation of course goes wrong because if you've seen past episodes or Borders, the Firestarter is one badass hacker who can get through pretty much anything in the cyber world. Going into Pyrophoric Cult, I was expecting a lot of complexity, but to my surprise, this episode was actually really straightforward. I understood everything that was happening and what all the characters were doing. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's good because I can flow with the plot, but bad because all the other Ghost in the Shell episodes and movies have been short, yet complex. And I love well-executed complexity! Where's my complexity? I suppose it's a bittersweet element. Overall, the whole Firestarter case is one big mystery, and it does intrigue me a little, but we all know that the focus of Arise is not really on mystery or even philosophy, it's on the action. Something tells me that the Firestarter hacker is trying to do something to do with the control of cyborgs as his own soldiers, but it's all very vague. 9 episodes in, and we still know very little about the hacker. I think the name isn't as intelligent sounding as, say, the Puppet Master, the Laughing Man, or even the Individual 11. Hear the word Firestarter and you can already tell what the guy does. Again, action over mystery. In terms of characters, it's the Major who steals the show, which is pretty impressive considering she's just a cyborg with theoretically straightforward emotions only. But as I've said in previous reviews of Arise, this Major is my favourite because her youthfulness and cunning gives her such an entertaining presence, and it really shows in this episode. She doesn't like working for these American agents, so she goes full-on rebel mode. It's so much fun watching a rebellious teenager pull off all these complex as hell operations. She's way more fascinating than the older and less emotional Major from Standalone Complex, or even the original movie Major. And just one more thing on characters. I love logicomas, and I'm so glad they got to really show off all their capabilities here, from fieldwork to hacking. Speaking of hacking, the cyber sequence was so exciting. What is actually happening is that a bunch of ones and zeros are constantly changing, but the actual visual representation is fantastical enough to get across all the craziness of cyberspace, yet give us a more or less clear indication of what the fuck is all happening. I usually find 3D special effects boring, because I know it's not real, but this time I was really invested in the special effects heavy hacking scene because not only did it fit in nice and neatly into this anime, I mean Avengers 2 did a similar hacking sequence, but it was all 3D and a live action world, so the sequence stood out like a separate animation, but this sequence captures intensity through lots of flashing and lots of thought. I mean, the logicomas consider processing power when doing certain tasks, for goodness sake. Although I am a little alienated by the significant drop in complexity, I think The episode made up for it by shortening the dialogue scenes and lengthening the action scenes to make this episode really entertaining. It's not a bad thing that the other characters outside the Major got zero development because, let's face it, we already know them. I doubt the Firestarter case will be fully solved in the next episode because the case does continue in the Arise movie, but hopefully there'll be enough progress made to make me satisfied.